Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is our second season of The Big Chat, and we're starting off with a special edition. We are lucky to have a great guest tonight. But before I do that, I need to also do some business. We want to thank the Parapost Network for allowing a use of their links. We want to thank Yerg's Radio, and you can go to yergsradio.com and listen to us if you can't watch us, but you can always come over and watch us on YouTube. And we have a new addition, the Rainbow Radio. We welcome them, and we're glad to be a part of their network. And they are both providing us with a toll-free number you can call in. The toll-free number for Yerg's Radio is 1-888-88-YERGZ. R for Rainbow Radio, it's 1-844-GAY LGBT. So on your phone pad. All right, well, let's get this going here. I got my lovely paranormal assistants back there, and we have a new one that's welcome to the group here. Amanda, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. All right, well, let's get Brody on here. He is the author of the Big Brother Bible, 25 Years of America's Guilty Pleasure. And yes, it is definitely a guilty pleasure. So. How are you, Brody?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. And I just want to say from the jump here that this is my first interview about the book. So I really appreciate you guys having me on to talk about it.
Hey, absolutely. We'll call it an exclusive. Yeah. Well, I've read it from cover to cover twice. So
what did you think? I need to know your critical opinion of the book.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I really can't say anything critical except for in the back where you were doing Where Are They Now? You kind of left off a little bit. And I'm like, well, where are the rest?
A few people have said that, and I'll tell you why. So I'm curious. I'm curious how long you've been watching the show, because I'm a big fan of the earliest seasons. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I left off. I believe season 10 is where I left off my Where Are They Now? And I also did that because some of the earlier contestants on the earlier seasons, I would say from 2000 to 2008, not all of them are as active online as some of the more recent seasons. So that's why, I didn't know if, let's say the past few years, if people would really... I'm sure a lot of people know what some of the more recent contestants are up to. So that's why I left it off at those early seasons. But it was also just interest. I like the early Big Brother seasons, as you can probably tell from the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And well, I remember I started from season 1. A friend of mine, I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's like, you got to check this show out. They got these people living in a house. He goes, I got AOL. We can watch them. So I didn't get the live feeds back then. Me and him were always comparing notes. And then season 2, when Kent was in, Kent lived in Knoxville. He was my boss. We didn't even know he was going on the show. And so I was definitely engrossed in that season. And, there was a little controversy with him, but if you knew him, he had a big heart. But yeah, so he was a great boss. So I really liked him. And when him and Bucky, right? Yeah.
Bunky, yeah.
Bunky. They had their conversation and came to like terms with each other. It was funny. At Kent's funeral, he gave the eulogy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they actually became very close. And I won't say educated, because Ken had a heart of, he looked like this big, burly, gruff guy, but he had a heart of gold.
Kent is a controversial character in Big Brother because, as you referenced to, he did say some outspoken things on, I believe, gay marriage and other things like that. But I do talk about in the book that his relationship with Bunky, who, for listeners who don't know this, Bunky is openly gay. They were kind of the Big Brother 2 odd couple and ended up becoming, as you said, close friends. And I thought that was a really interesting storyline. And later in the book, I talk about how casting has changed so much since 2001, and that it's unlikely that we would have sort of an odd couple like Kent and Bunky cast in the show, which I think is a little unfortunate, because part of what I like about the early Big Brother seasons is that they did put those sort of diverse personalities in a house together. Sometimes they would get along, sometimes they wouldn't. But Kent and Bunky are a good example of two, at least on the surface, opposites who ended up becoming close friends. So I really liked that. To me, it kind of showed that, despite our differences, it's possible for people to find commonality and become,
sure,
friends or close. So,
well, like you said in the book, those type of people probably wouldn't be cast now because of their diversity. I think, in fact, he was open about being a Reagan fan, and I read in the book that when Trump was elected, they said, well, we're never going to put a Trump person on the show. And it's like, well, that's half the country. So how do you do that? And that's what Big Brother is supposed to be. In my opinion, it's almost like a psychological chess game for both the cast and crew.
And it's interesting. I talked to one of the people I was lucky to talk to for the book. His name is Paul Romer, and he helped. He was one of the people in the room with John DeMol when the idea for Big Brother was born. Essentially, they were in an office, John DeMol and three of his employees. One of them was Paul. And for viewers who don't know this, Big Brother originated in the Netherlands, and it was a huge hit. And it came across to America the following year. But anyway, yeah, Paul, one of the things he told me was that the idea, at least originally, for Big Brother was to put those sort of conflicting personalities in a house together. So he said it would be, in his words, Paul said it's a mistake not to put the Trump supporters and the Biden supporters in a house together and let them either get past their differences, and as we saw Kent and Bunky do, or they don't get past their differences, and it might make for some good television and seeing people fight on TV. But that's what I really miss and I really liked about those early seasons. So I really thought that was an interesting observation from Paul.
For people who love reality TV, that's kind of what it's all about. And that would be, if there were more things like that on there, those, people from two very different backgrounds, realizing that despite the differences, they can become friends, so many more people would be willing to latch onto that.
And also, I've often thought, you three would know this much better than I would. I'm in Canada, you're in the US, but from everything I've read, there's quite just a divide in the US right now when it comes to politics, whether Democrats and Republicans. And I've really been thinking, and I thought a lot about this while I wrote the book, was that if the show was to go back to its roots in terms of putting those personalities in the house together, who knows what that could do in terms of maybe bridging that gap between conservatives and liberals. And
I think it's probably looked at too vastly to a point like that as well, because when you narrow down to little towns in BF Egypt, like where I'm from, it's as long as you're a good person, you know, that's all that matters. Are you respectful when you walk by somebody going down the road? Are you willing to stop and help somebody? Then whatever your views, beliefs, preferences are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You a good
And
person?
I feel like
That's all
most
that
people,
matters.
yeah, I agree. And I feel like most people think that way, but unfortunately, I'm not sure it's always reflected that way on TV shows
I
like
agree.
Big Brother and other shows. So that's one of the things I found really fascinating about the book. And it was one of the reasons I decided to write it, was because I wanted to, I really loved those early seasons of Big Brother and Survivor, and I still watch both shows. But to me, they're not as good as they were in the early 2000s. And so that's one of the questions I wanted to look at, was why, is it just my own taste that's kind of changed over the years, or is it the shows that have changed? So that was a guiding question for me when I decided to write the book.
And I feel like that's an interesting thing to look at through any type of reality show, really. When they started in those earlier years, I guess because of lack of production or lack of money being there, like the first thing that comes to mind for me is like looking at the first couple seasons of Drag Race.
Right.
I mean, production quality was, but it was real. It was much more real than it is now. And I think money probably has a lot to do with that. Kind of the same thing, like I'm a huge Jersey Shore fan. It's kind of the same thing with that.
They have to
Yeah.
keep people coming back, though. They have to find ways,
It has
to
to get
cause the
bigger and
drama.
better, and each season has to outdo the last. So
Right.
you get it, but it also kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I think they also tilted it a few seasons ago with the cookout. I mean, I don't want to be controversial about it, but it's kind of boring. It was kind of boring to me, especially when it got down to they were going to eliminate their friends. But the thing I thought was great was no one saw it outside the house.
Yeah, no, it was, I did watch that season. I do, a lot of critics of that season, and I would count myself one of them, is yeah, there wasn't a lot of fighting in the house. It did kind of become, I think the word kumbaya has been what I've heard some folks on Twitter say with regard to that season. And I do agree. It was not the most interesting season to me. I've tweeted about this a little bit, and I do recognize in terms of cultural significance, it was really a big deal. And I've talked to a few folks who have been on the show and and fans of the show I interviewed, who said it was really important to see that representation and see what the cookout was able to do. But in terms of, interest in the show, it did really kind of, after a few weeks of the same thing happening over and over and over again, it got a little boring.
Yes.
And things like that, I feel like it almost takes you a couple years later watching it back to appreciate that, because I look at that too with like those like seasons of Drag Race that were more on that, and you're like, at the time you're like, no, somebody say something, come on, throw a bottle at somebody, come on, do something.
And I will say, right. And I will say, to your point about early reality shows, if you look at one famous example, I guess, is the Osbournes. Their reality show was one of the first to kind of follow a famous family. And if you read about the Osbournes and how it was filmed, they really didn't stop filming. It was almost 24/7. And now from producers I've spoken to about reality shows, it's not like that. It's usually a lot of the scenarios, they might not be entirely scripted, but they go into the situation knowing, sort of having a rough outline of what they want to see happen. And then they're able to work within that. So reality, how it's filmed, has also changed. And I talk about
a lot of it is that much more scriptedness. Yeah.
And I talk in a chapter, one of the chapters in the book is called Guaranteed Outcomes. And I interview a producer, Pete Tartaglia, and he's worked on Big Brother. He's worked on Shaws of Sunset and some other shows, Real Housewives, I believe. And what he proposed to me, and it's something I didn't know, but he essentially said that in the early days of reality TV, and it's kind of obvious when you think about it, but the genre was so new that a lot of producers who were working in reality there was no roadmap. So they were creating it as they went. And then as the years went on and reality TV started to become more popular and the TV networks started to become more financially invested in the shows, he proposed the term guaranteed outcomes to me. And essentially what he said was that, guaranteed outcomes really means, came from the networks telling their staff that we need something to happen in order to maintain our ratings, in order to maintain the money coming in. So there was less risk taking place in terms of filming a show, and not necessarily, because these reality shows weren't the financial backbone of TV networks, there wasn't necessarily as much pressure for success. Of course, everyone wanted their shows to do well, but now these shows are so sort of ingrained in the network's programming schedules. There's less of, I guess, that spontaneity and the risk that these producers were able to take, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Do you think you'll write another book?
That's a great question. Excuse me. I've really been considering writing an extended version of the book that I'm talking about now, because a lot of people, it's exceeded my expectations in terms of success. I didn't know how many people would buy it or read it or talk about it, but quite a few Big Brother fans have bought the book and have reached out to me about it. So I'm thinking about doing an extended version and going into a bit more depth. I've actually had a contestant reached out to me on Instagram and said, why didn't you interview me? I have so much to tell you behind the scenes, things that happen. So I thought,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I said it's too bad I didn't get you before the book came out. But so I'm thinking about that. I've had a little bit of issue with CBS after I wrote this book, so I'm not in a big hurry to write another one. But I am thinking about writing another Big Brother book, or at least extending this version.
We got to do your exclusive interview here.
Yes, I would love to. You guys are great.
Now, if it's not prying too much, what issues have you had with CBS?
Well, so my book, I was really just lucky in terms of the interviews I was able to secure. It was just sort of a game of almost like a telephone, where I reached out to one person, they put me in touch with another, they put me in touch with another. But I was able to chat with the host of Big Brother, Julie Chen, her husband, Les Moonves, Arnold Shapiro, the Academy Award-winning filmmaker, who folks listening might know for his documentary Scared Straight, and later that was adapted into a TV show, Beyond Scared Straight, on A&E. He was one of the original executive producers from seasons 2 to 8 of Big Brother, and I chatted with him and over 100 others, including the current executive producers, and that's where the situation kind of begins. So I had been trying to interview Big Brother's current executive producers for over a year before they finally agreed to sit down with me and do an interview. And I was quite accommodating with them. I didn't record they asked that I not record our interview. So of course I didn't record our interview. They wanted to know a lot of details about the topics I would be covering in the book. So I felt like I was really accommodating with them. But when my book came out, they were upset about some of the things I decided to write about. Particularly, one of the topics they were upset about me writing was how Alison Grodner split with Arnold Shapiro, her her. They they produced the show together. They executive produced the show together, and they weren't happy about how I wrote about their kind of split and Arnold's departure from the show. That was one thing. They didn't really like how I talked about diversity on Big Brother nowadays. I think those were the two. Yeah, go ahead.
In a second. So what is there necessarily to be upset about in discussing two people's split, one of which you've spoken to?
Well, they say that my book doesn't reflect some of the things I write about accurately. But I will say, after I got that letter, I did consult with a lawyer who helped me craft a response to their letter, and I sent my response about 2 weeks ago, and I never heard anything. I have not yet heard anything back from them. And I did say, if there is anything in the book that you feel strongly that isn't accurate, or I'm not reflecting a point of view accurately, let me know, and I would be open to amending future prints of the book. It's been 2 weeks. They haven't responded to me. So I did ask specifically, because CBS does make some blanket statements that my book isn't factual, or there are inaccuracies, but they haven't yet told me exactly what those inaccuracies are. And I don't know if they ever will. I think the letter they sent me, a lot of folks have suggested it may have just been a scare tactic. Don't write about this show anymore. We don't like what you've written. So yeah, it's not really clear to me right now, but I'm not overly worried about it. Because I am confident in the book's contents,
Let me ask you this. Now, is the book just purely like all straight factual, or is there obviously opinion in there?
There's very little of my opinion in the book, and I really intentionally did that because I do recognize not all Big Brother fans are going to agree with me, and I didn't want to alienate readers, so I tried my hardest not to include a lot of my own opinion. I do at the beginning. In the foreword, I talk about how I came to become a fan of the show, and at the end, I do give my thoughts on Big Brother's shortcomings today, in comparison to the seasons that I really love and still love. So those are the only sections I give my opinion. In terms of the book's contents, everything I write about is sourced in terms of coming from an article I had read, or interviews that I was given from producers and contestants. And in all of those cases,
coming right from the horse's mouth. So
yeah, exactly. So there is no, I think I only rely on one quote in the book comes from an undisclosed source. And I think I say pretty obviously that they didn't want to be mentioned. But for the most part, I would say 99.9% of the quotes in the book are directly attributed to individuals. So yeah, there's not a lot of off the record content in the book.
You're like, well, here, you didn't like this, you can go talk to so-and-so. You didn't like this, you can go talk to that person. Here's the link to where I got that. You don't like that, talk to them.
What would you do if they asked you to be on the show?
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. So being in Canada, I obviously couldn't apply to be on Big Brother USA, but I dreamt of being on the show. And then years later, Big Brother Canada came out, and it just went off the air. I didn't watch that show, and I was never interested in being on it. It was always the American version because that's the show I grew up watching. But after talking to some Big Brother contestants who have told me about, I guess, negative experiences and that reality TV isn't all that that people think it is.
It's not all it cracks up to be.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I would have more reservations today about going on a reality show than I did before I started the book. You know, I talked to a contestant from Big Brother 1, Jordan, and she really indicated to me that she really struggled after the show, that transitioning back into real life wasn't easy for her. And some other contestants have said the same thing. So I think dealing with that scrutiny would be quite difficult. And, you know, I have a difficult enough time on Twitter when people come after my book. I'm there tweeting back and fighting with them. So I don't know. I don't think I would be a great person to be on the show. Yeah.
I thought they may invite you so you can see all the behind the scenes activity, you know?
Well, you know,
I'd be like
I would
in
have
my room, like, no,
Right.
sleeping in. Leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. I would have loved to have visited the so I went to Los Angeles before the book came out to meet some of the subjects for the book, like Arnold Shapiro. I was able to meet him and some others, and one of the producers tried to get me onto the set of Big Brother. He made a phone call and of course it didn't happen. I was told that after COVID they have put some restrictions on the public entering the CBS Radford lot in Los Angeles. I don't know if that's true. They may just not have wanted me to come by, but I felt like I was as close as I could have gotten to getting onto the set, but it didn't work out.
That's so cool.
The only celebrity
That's
that I've
pretty
ever
crazy in
heard was
itself.
George Clooney, I believe, is the only celebrity I've ever heard, besides for like the people who did the concerts and stuff. But yeah, they like to keep that as almost like Area 51.
And I was told, one producer told me that they used to give tours in the early years behind, as the show was filming. They would occasionally, if staff's friends or family came by, they would be allowed to take them behind the two-way glass and they could watch and see the contestants as they were existing in the Big Brother house. But I was told that came to an end after somebody just, you know, a relative or a friend did something to call attention behind the glass. And according to cameramen I talked to, that's a big no-no is interrupting the house guests in any way, or, you know, they of course want the house guests to really be in the moment and not thinking about the cameras. So if you go in there and do anything to interrupt that, it's a big no-no. So I was told that those tours behind the double glass stopped many years ago after an incident with somebody just, you know, causing some commotion behind the windows. Yeah. But you're right. George Clooney, I was told, did get a tour during one of the seasons. I was told that he had a crush on Big Brother 3 contestant Lisa Donahue. She won season 3. So that was news to me. I didn't know that. But yeah, a producer told me that that George Clooney had the hots for Lisa. So I was also told that
okay, now I got to see what Lisa looks like.
I was also told that Layla Ali was given a tour back in the day.
Wow.
And I think some others, but those are the two names that I can remember.
Layla was on Dancing with the Stars, wasn't she?
I believe so.
So I always thought all the reality shows, you know, kind of tied in together somehow.
Yeah, I guess she was a Big Brother fan and did get a tour of the house back in the day. And I don't know if she was on the celebrity version or not years later, but I do know that she's a Big Brother fan.
Girl can sing too.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that with all the celebrities. You would think in Hollywood they'd have like carte blanche, you know?
Right?
I'm trying to get them on Celebrity.
So. And when you were talking about reality TV, we do a paranormal show. I have several friends that are on paranormal shows, like, you know, networks. And one of them was on a show where, let's just say that they were looking for a Bigfoot, you know, like they wanted to find Bigfoot, and the producers and everything went tromping through the woods with the lights and cameras. And he's like, they're never going to catch this thing. And the producers didn't believe in it. Well, one day security had one in their sights and was ready to pull the trigger. and they said there was like panic on the set. The executive producer was screaming, "No, we can't find Bigfoot. They'll cancel our series." So yeah,
look the other direction.
and they didn't release that. I know for a fact they didn't release that, but yeah, it was funny. He said, "Well, we found Bigfoot. We got to kill the show."
No, we never found him.
So,
He's out here on my farm.
yeah.
Where do you think he had to go after?
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend said after I think he did 2 seasons on it. He said, "I'll never do it again."
It's like these darn rednecks out here about found me. Now I gotta go find somewhere else to live.
Yeah, reality TV is certainly different. And what we were talking about, the house guests, now it seems like a lot of them want to come in just to get on other shows.
Mm-hmm.
That was, yeah. And I also, I touch on that in the book as well. That is something that when I spoke to Pete Tartaglia, the gentleman who brought up the guaranteed outcomes, he told me that one of the problems with reality TV today, and I don't know if there's any going back from this necessarily, especially on a show like Big Brother or Survivor, you have people, myself included, who have grown up on these shows. So a lot of people now know, if I'm going to go on a reality show, I know how to behave in order to get people's attention, whereas in the earliest seasons, Dr. Will Kirby, famously in Big Brother 2 became the evil Dr. Will. It's, he didn't really there wasn't necessarily an example for him to base that off of, if that makes sense. Whereas now I might know if I applied for Big Brother or Survivor, I'm going to go on and be, evil mastermind Brody. But back then people were just going on being themselves, and there weren't necessarily those opportunities to become a social media influencer and turn your time on a show like Big Brother or Survivor into some type of influencing or digital influencer career. So I think that has had an effect, and I don't really know, how, if that's going to change anytime soon.
I would say it would just get worse, really.
Yeah, because we all have watched so much reality TV, and we kind of know the characters they're looking for and what those characters do and say. So, yeah, I do talk about that.
Whether you're crazy, goofy, or the biggest a-hole, whatever gets people's attention. I mean, like, you look at Snooki from Jersey Shore that went out to do Snooki and JWoww, and when that didn't work, I forget what the other show is called because I primarily watch the UK version, but it's the tattoo show where two people will come on and they pick each other's tattoos. Snooki went on to do that, and she wrote her own book, and then JWoww wrote her own book, and then Polly D and Vinny, I think, went out to do several different shows past that.
Yeah, it's such an industry now, and even Big Brother contestants now, there's a show on MTV called The Challenge, and I guess I shouldn't say there's a show on MTV called The Challenge. I'm pretty sure it's been on for a very long time. I've not watched it, but anyway, in the past few years, a lot of Big Brother contestants have gone straight to that show and done multiple seasons. So it's so much different than, of course, in the early 2000s, some contestants went on the show looking for fame and celebrity, but I don't think it was always the driving motivation for going on the show. Whereas I would say today that is, for most contestants, I would venture a guess and say that is the motivation. Before we had real people going on Big Brother and Survivor who had day jobs and all of that stuff. And now you have people who go on and immediately afterwards, their new job is appearing on various reality shows and
makeup brand and
yeah. So it is different, I think,
And that interestingly, brings me over to like the WWE with a lot of stuff with, John Cena being on there forever, and then he goes acting, and then you've got like the Bella twins had their show for a while, and then
Yeah.
Ms. and Mrs. I think is the Mrs. So and then there are all
I didn't
these
know that.
there are all these other wrestlers that are going into acting. So I foresee that being something similar. They're going on reality TV to eventually become famous for something, and then you have people going into like wrestling, where I'm sure it goes into other genres as well, but to move themselves up higher.
But can I tell you what I'm happy about, at least? I guess the silver lining, if there is one, is that we still have all of those early seasons to go back and watch. WWE, the late 90s, early 2000s, Big Brother, those, seasons 1 through 12, I would say, Survivor, and all of those other shows. So even though, my disappointed fan heart might not see those.
Don't approve of it now.
I don't approve of it.
I'll just go back and watch what
Yes,
I'm enjoying.
exactly. Over and over and over again.
That's like me with The Office.
Mm-hmm.
Can't deal with the last season, so I'll just start over again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're on season 26. How much longer do you think this could go on?
That's a great question. And I don't think Big Brother, because the show is on the format's been sold to, I believe, 60 plus countries around the world, between 50 and 60, maybe more, a lot of places. I don't think Big Brother will ever go away. Who knows in the United States? Of course, Big Brother Canada just was canceled, but there have been instances where Big Brother has gone off the air in a country and come back. I think Big Brother, just my opinion, is really, especially for the time in 2000, was such an incredible idea and innovation, because it was the first time you had a show or a TV show that had the capability to turn out footage 24/7. In Big Brother 1, if that makes sense, they were filming constantly 24/7. And Big Brother 1 specifically in the United States, it was based on the Dutch version that premiered the year earlier, the first ever version. And on Big Brother 1 US in 2000, the show aired 6 nights a week. And so when I talked to producers who worked on that show, they said it was incredible because they were recording footage and they had to have that show ready in 24 hours. They absolutely needed to, because that was their schedule, airing 6 nights a week. And they said it was so, all of them had never done that before. So I find that really interesting, just in terms of Big Brother itself, what that show brought that was new and new to viewers was, I think, that just the idea of recording people 24/7 and then being able to turn out that footage right away. But that's a little side note. Your question about how long, I think Big Brother will be on forever, at least somewhere. I know in the US, the ratings have gone down, but that's something that you've seen across all broadcast networks. TV ratings aren't the same as they used to be on almost any show. So I don't know, but I do feel like there's a lot of opportunity. If Big Brother ever leaves CBS and network TV, I think it'll be able to find its place maybe on streaming or on the entirely on the internet. I think Big Brother's here to stay.
I think it is, if they can keep finding good people to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. It's my guilty summer pleasure. I'm addicted.
And also, I just want to add, I just thought of something. In addition to turning out footage in a 24-hour window, something else that Big Brother did before any other show was blending television, the internet, and telephone, I guess, converging all of those different mediums into the show, which I think made it really successful in the early years. So you had, of course, the show that would air throughout the week. Then you had the live feeds. Big Brother was a pioneer in subscription-based internet content, and also telephone voting on Big Brother 1. People voted contestants out each week, and they voted for a winner. And then subsequent seasons did telephone voting for, America's Player and other things like that. So
it feels
yeah,
like so long ago that you.
yeah,
Like I remember when we used to do that with America's Got Talent, and that feels like forever ago.
yeah.
Well, it's been around so long, and I hate to reference it to 9/11, but in the fire service, we now had 2 years ago recruits come in that didn't know a thing about 9/11, and that just blew me away. How did they not know it? Yeah. So, I was that old man then, but and speaking of 9/11, during the show, that was something that I think they handled well, but I think they got a lot of flack about it later. Because they were down to 3 at that point, but they wanted to just basically kill the show. I'm glad they didn't, but I can't imagine being the last person in the world to find that out.
Yeah, it's really 9/11. I have a chapter on 9/11. And I really found that story to be quite fascinating, because you're absolutely right. The 3 contestants left in the house, Dr. Will, Monica, and Nicole, were really the only Americans who were cut off from, that news. And in speaking with producers about who were working behind the scenes on 9/11 at Big Brother, some of them have reflected today with different opinions on how it was handled. So there was discussion. CBS did not want to end the show prematurely, and that was something that was discussed, whether contestants should just be, let's end the show, send the contestants home. They, of course, didn't want that. And the reason is, according to an executive I spoke to for the book, was because not only was Big Brother 2 successful in terms of ratings, but the show was also used to advertise upcoming shows for the fall TV season. So there were reasons for them not wanting to end the show. So that was one consideration that was discussed, was ending the show completely right then and there. Another consideration was continuing the show and not telling the house guests anything about 9/11 or what was going on. And then the last option was continuing the show, letting the contestants know what was happening, and giving them the option to leave if they would like. And that's the option that they went with. So they told the contestants about the attacks. The contestants were given the choice to leave or stay. And ultimately, they all decided to stay. But where some producers I spoke to have some grievances, I guess, or some issues with how it was handled, was that they weren't told all of the details at once. So although the contestants were told that there was a terrorist attack that day, and they were specifically told of a terrorist attack on the Twin Towers, they weren't told that the towers had collapsed. They weren't told of the death toll of that day. They also weren't told about the attack on the Pentagon or the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. So there were a lot of details left out. So some of the producers I spoke to felt that while house guests were told some details, they weren't told everything. And if they had been told everything right away, that may have changed their decision in whether or not to stay or leave. And I think we can all try to put ourselves in that position, and hearing about a plane crash at the World Trade Center without knowing the scope of it in terms of, casualties or suspected casualties and all of that, I think it would be hard to make that decision. So there are some people who feel like they should have been told all of those details, who said he disagrees with that, and that after, these 3 house guests had been on Big Brother for close to, I think, 70 days at this point. And what he said to me was that when you give, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said that one little drop of water in the Big Brother house from outside, creates a tidal wave within the house. So he said, had they given the house guests all of those details right away, that it would have been maybe too much for them to process or consume. I don't necessarily know where I fall on that. I think it's a really interesting debate, and I think both sides, there's some validity to both of those arguments.
It's like, I get
but
it,
yeah.
but also like looking at it from, our view back here, it would be one thing if you told me there was a terrorist attack on the Twin Towers and I'm like, okay, I feel okay to stay because I don't have family working there. Now, if after I leave, you tell me the full scope of things and I have a family member that works at the Pentagon, I'd have been pretty PO'd.
Yeah. And speaking of that, for those who watched Big Brother 2, they would know that Monica had a cousin who was either in or who worked in the World Trade Center and tragically did pass away on 9/11. So she was told first in the diary room. At that point, her cousin wasn't declared deceased, but was among the missing. So there was a personal connection, and thank goodness that Monica was informed right away about that. Another interesting just side note is that the Big Brother house is located only a few miles from Burbank Airport in Los Angeles. So on 9/11, after the planes had been grounded, Dr. Will Kirby, the winner of Big Brother 2, he had noticed that there weren't planes flying in the sky, and he kind of made an offhanded remark that, there must have been a terrorist attack. And of course, he didn't know anything about that at the time. So a lot of producers said that for them, that was one of the most eerie kind of things, was that Dr. Will made that prediction without knowing anything, just based on the lack of planes that were flying overhead. But yeah, really interesting stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You imagine how he felt after that too?
Yeah.
After saying that and then them telling them
Finding
that?
out. Yeah.
I know, yeah. And there were some light. Yeah, and I know there were some lighthearted. I don't hold this against them because, as I said, they didn't know the full scope of the tragedy at the time. But there were they even made jokes in the house at the time about, or talked very kind of lightly about, but they didn't know. So yeah, that was another controversy at the time. I went back and I looked at some of the live feed logs, and it was interesting to see what was going on in the house at the time.
Well, I mean, with something that crazy going on, I mean, all you can really do to handle it is maybe make a joke of it.
Yeah.
I mean, as terrible of a situation that it was and continues to be, but I mean, there's 3 of you stuck in this house now after knowing that a terrorist attack has happened. Are you gonna
And they didn't
freak
know
out
how
or
bad
try
it was.
Yeah.
Are you gonna freak out and be sad and risk your point in winning at that point, or are you gonna try and be a little lighthearted about it? So I mean, you can't blame them on that part.
Well, I think Dr. Will is much smarter than people give him credit for. I mean, but the planes have become a big part of the show because, was it Kevin? He used to sit there and count them and talk about the different ones. And so over the years, the planes have become an actual part of the show, including someone rented a plane and flew a banner over with, I forget what it was now, but a message to the house guest. So
yeah, that's that, and it's interesting because on Big Brother 1, the banners became part of the narrative of the show. The show addresses the airplanes, and you see the planes and what they do inside the house in terms of the impact on the house guests. In later seasons, they stopped showing and naturally it makes sense, they stopped giving those planes much attention. Occasionally, I know in season 2 they did show, I believe, one of the banners because it was sent over the house by one of the contestants' spouses. But as the years go on, they don't give as much attention to those banners. I think my assumption is probably just, less of an incentive for people to pay and see their message on TV, and they send the house guests, when a banner is being flown over the house, they'll send the house guests in so they don't get a chance to read it, and so it doesn't have too much of an impact on the game. And interestingly, talking to interns who worked on the early seasons of Big Brother, some of them told me that their job was to go sit on the roof of the building on the CBS lot with a pair of binoculars and just look out for those banner planes. And I said, my response was, I could not imagine spending my day sitting out on a hot roof in Southern California with a pair of binoculars looking for. Yeah, so that was interesting to me too.
We're
Lots of
getting
sunblock.
we're getting into
No.
triple ditches out here.
Now I'm sure it's going to be the drones. So
I was thinking more along the lines of people might have been sending nasty things to them. Would have been the reason they stopped.
There have been some players that the fans have hated so much that they have collected money to fly a banner over.
Y'all got too much money for your time with that.
The Twitterverse is horrible it can make you or break you for Big Brother. There have been contestants that have lost their job, have been literally tore apart. One had to have had people write letters to their house. I mean, I may not like you on the show, but that doesn't mean I don't like you as a person. And there's been some that just got downright nasty, and
or I might not like you on the show. I might not like them on the I might not like them on the show or them as a person, but I'm not going to, contact their employer or send their family a nasty message or anything like that. I might send them a sassy tweet, but that's about as far as I'll go.
As much of my energy as you're getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or every time I see a movie with you on it, I'm flipping at the bird, but that's as much of my energy as you're getting.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, the Twitterverse is really nasty. You'll find out as you get into it more. But
it shouldn't surprise me, but it's just I got too much to worry about than to worry about these people on TV that much.
And Big Brother fans are quite, I think, notorious for their just rabid nature. I don't know of many other shows whose fans go as wild as Big Brother fans do, but that's another reason why I think being on the show would be difficult, because the fan base is quite intense.
If they hate
I've seen it myself.
They freaking hate you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, was it last season with Luke, or was it the season before? I got in touch with him. He wouldn't come on the show. I tried.
Yeah, I really wanted to speak with Luke for the book, because I sort of discuss in the book how controversies are handled so differently on Big Brother today than they used to be. And so I thought I really wanted to hear his sort of perspective on everything that happened. And for anyone listening who doesn't know, he used a slur in conversation with another house guest. But Luke is a white guy. The guy he was talking to is a white guy. Of course, I don't think I'm not going to say the word that they use, that Luke uses, but he was expelled from the show. I don't know. I've talked to some people have different opinions on what happened. I talked to a Black viewer who told me that he agreed with Luke's expulsion from the show, but he also felt like CBS was in a rush to kind of wipe its hands clean of the controversy. Yes. And this fan's comment was, what is anybody learning if we're not going to discuss, what happened and how to move on from it? So that was a really interesting perspective. And I really wanted to reach Luke to hear what he had to say, but you're absolutely right. He difficult to to get a hold of. I think he's gone underground a little bit.
Yeah, well, he answered me at first because he's also a comic book nerd, and so he answered me at first, and I think I got 2 or 3 exchanges, and that was about it. But he didn't get a chance to air his side of the story, and granted, in public safety, I've learned there's your side, her side, his side, and the truth. So there's 3 sides to every story. And I would have really liked to have heard a little bit more perspective from everyone, because even the house guests were shocked when he was ejected.
They were. And I don't think, I'm not going to get in, I won't, get into the debate of the word itself and all of that. But I will say that as a viewer, I don't think Luke's intention was to be racist when he used that word.
Agreed.
Given that a white guy said it to another. I don't know. I really don't know. He was sort of a beachy type of guy. I assumed California, but I have no idea.
He's Floridian.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I
have something to do with it also. But
yeah, I agree. And I don't know. I don't really know if his intentions were necessarily as bad as people made it out to seem. And I also feel like, again, I'm not excusing this, but how people talk among their friends, who knows how that word is used among certain friend groups. So, it's a touchy subject. I don't want the fans to come for me, but I do think, I don't know what Luke's intention was, but personally, I don't think he set out to offend a big group of people. I really don't.
That was the impression I was left with, but then there was the NDAs and the rabid fans, and so I didn't really get much of a chance to explore much.
Yeah,
he's a comic book artist and writer, and so I'm sure we'll probably bump into him again. It was funny when you were talking about the WWE, and Brody, I don't know if you know this, but I've interviewed quite a few comic book writers. They go on to Big Brother and do some writing, which I don't understand why Big Brother really needs writers, but from there they step into, as Cheyenne was saying, the WWE. There's a transgression, and it's funny that she made that connection and hadn't interviewed or talked to the person that I had, and I was like, well, first off, what do you do as a writer on Big Brother? I mean,
Well, no, I'm just looking at it as, okay, they're coming on the show to get famous, so they go do something else. Well, you see that a lot in the WWE. Not even necessarily that was their intent, but that's what happened.
Everyone I know started out as a wrestler, wanting to be a wrestler, not an actor.
I just watched The Marine because it had John Cena in it.
Right.
That's all I cared about.
I think that's really interesting. And writers, I did speak with a few story editors / writers on Big Brother. In my understanding, it's a really, again, I find this so fascinating about Big Brother, how complex it's been described to me many times, and I still can't really get my head around it because it is so complex capturing the content for the show. But what you do have is one of the positions, the story editor position, they will sit in the control room with a pair of headphones and listen to all of the different feeds. And their job is to look for interesting conversations that might have to do with the game.
They're called the what if editor. They've just got a composition like, okay, well, this happened, so now we're going to see what happens if this happens this way, like I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they all told me that being on Big Brother, most shows you write for, you kind of have an idea about, what you're going to write, whereas Big Brother, you're writing based on what happens in the house. So they're listening for those stories, the private conversations between contestants about game, or they might be looking for something funny. that they can use for one of the segments on the show where they'll do some sort of fun non-game segments. They look for those. And then
moments.
yeah, and so they're making notes on what they see, and then
I need to go do that because I'm a nosy SOB. I'd just be like, yeah.
I know, right? And then those segments are all kind of put together by editors. It's a huge team, so it's but I do find it really interesting.
Yeah, one of the people I interviewed said that basically every house guest has somebody that's attached to them 24/7 electronically, and they're recording and transcribing what is said, which blows me away.
Just be now wait, do the contestants know who this person is that's connected to them?
I doubt it, seriously, unless they meet him after
I'd
the
be
show.
like, hey Joe, you suck. You freaking suck.
Well, see, and that's the thing. You don't know in the house if they're portraying you on the outside as a bad guy or girl because of something you may or may not have said. So
I'd just be that a-hole, just be like, yeah, you hear I farted. That was just for you, Joe. Screw you. I know you're listening.
And there are, to make it to your point about people transcribing, the logger position, that's something I didn't know about until I started writing this book, is that you're absolutely right. There are people whose entire job is to sit there and essentially transcribe what's going on in the house. So some have described it as quite a monotonous job. You're just really listening and writing.
It's like making like a court
stenographer,
yeah. I was told that it's more, they used that example and said it's less like that and more, it's not necessarily verbatim, but they try to capture the higher level. So then if somebody wants to go back and look for a specific moment that day, they can do that. So it's really interesting.
Said that Jessica is a snobby witch because her butt is bigger than.
Is that how Terry gets his information? Because he can't stay up 24/7, 365 during the show. If for those of you that don't know, Taryn is another podcaster, probably the most successful from Big Brother, and they have to give him logs or something. He's got to have a connection because he knows everything that happens at 3 a.m. every day. How do you do that?
Drive.
Well, by the way, I don't want to leave too abruptly, but I've got maybe 10 more minutes left before I have to head out, if that's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Well, let's talk about real quick the upcoming season. You think not you think, they're leaning into heavily AI. What is your opinion of that?
Oh gosh, where do I begin? I think that I always think that Big Brother has so much potential because I have enjoyed so many early seasons of the show. I'm hopeful. I'm going to watch Big Brother 26. I've committed to that. I haven't watched in a few years. I'm going to watch this year. I hope it's great. I think the theme is cool. I really didn't like last season. I started watching and I just couldn't get through it. Big Brother started to incorporate, I guess, a lot of animation and CGI kind of things.
Yes.
And I just feel like Big Brother to me, what it's supposed to be is the raw kind of nitty-gritty of these people living together. I don't need to see a lot of special effects or CGI or animation. I don't need that. And there were a lot of competitions.
TV. That's not what I came here to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So I really hope they stop doing that. But on that point, in the book, I talked to a challenge producer who did over a dozen seasons on Big Brother. And what he mentioned to me is that over the years, there's been more ambitious attempts by the production team to have really polished competitions and really over-the-top competitions. For instance, he told me that they no longer want the backyard to resemble the backyard when they're hosting a competition. They want it to be completely transformed. So if you're a viewer of the show, you've probably noticed in the past few years, the backyard is unrecognizable when they do competitions. So that's a mandate that is coming from production. I also don't agree with that. Again, part of what I liked about Big Brother were those really rough competitions where they, in some cases, it was just a true and a false, stepping up the stairs blindfolded, stepping down the stairs, those true and false kind of things. I loved that. I don't think they need to go to these extremes because competitions aren't why I watch Big Brother necessarily. Of course, you need the competitions, but I'm not watching for, an incredibly well-produced, shiny stage show.
We're not watching American Ninja Warrior.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Brody, since you got to go, I want to make sure that you get in your plug. Tell everybody where they can find you and where they can get the book. And I do highly recommend it. I'll give you an Amazon review. You'll be my first. I have never done that. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. And also, I want to thank you three. This was, as I said, this is my first interview. And you three have been so fun to talk to. So I was nervous before coming on, but you guys made it really fun.
We were too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were.
Great to have you.
I wanna say thank you. I can appreciate it so much when somebody is so passionate about something and they know so much. Because I feel like a goof when I'm like that with The Office. Obviously, it's different with Big Brother.
Yeah.
But I
No,
can
I'm a super
appreciate it.
fan.
I can appreciate
Yep.
it so much when somebody has a love for something and they are so knowledgeable. It's just
Thank you.
It warms my
And
heart.
And for those listening who are interested in the book, it's called, again, The Big Brother Bible, 25 Years of America's Summertime Guilty Pleasure. It includes interviews with over 100 contestants and producers from years past and present, including the host, Julie Chen Moonves. And if you're interested in buying a copy, you can go to bigbrotherbible.com. And from there, you'll be linked to Amazon, and you can order a copy.
Good deal. And
That's
last
also
question.
in Kindle version.
It is, yes.
That's the version I got. Yeah, I need to sneak an autograph copy from you. Last question. Did you see the top secret rule book?
I did not see the rule book. I tried with the first season, and who knows? I'm sure the rule book may have likely changed as the show went on. But when I was speaking with the executive producer of season 1, I did ask. I said, "Do you happen to have a copy of the rule book of Big Brother 1?" He wasn't able to. He didn't have a copy. But what he did show me, he was really a great guy. His name is Douglas Ross, and he went on, following Big Brother 1, he went on to produce the first season of, I believe, first and second seasons of Fear Factor. And then he went on to executive produce The Real Housewives of Orange County and Beverly Hills. So he's done a lot of things, and he was a great resource for the book. Yeah, right. I know. And there's a lot of stuff in between those, but those are some of the highlights. But he sent me a box of press clippings from Big Brother 1. And for me, as like a early 2000s reality TV nerd, it was so fun to kind
Just
of
squealing and going crazy.
Yeah, I went through all of the press clippings, and he even had among all of that stuff on Big Brother 1, and this was written about in the Washington Post and New York Times, there were some young guys who snuck onto the CBS lot or may have done it from just outside of the walls. They threw tennis balls into the backyard, and inside those tennis balls were fake newspaper clippings. One of the clippings they created said that Bill Clinton condemned Big Brother and the house guests. They did a lot of the stuff, and the house guests, I believe, did open them and read them. But anyway, I was able to take a look at the original clippings that these guys sent into the backyard. So that was really cool for me. Yeah.
That's neat.
That's awesome.
Were they at least well done clippings, or
they were actually, without knowing, I would have mistaken the clipping as a real newspaper. So I don't know how they did it, what they printed it on, but it felt like a newspaper and everything. and the
Wow.
headline was, I think, President Clinton calls Big Brother a disgrace or something like that.
Yep.
It was quite funny, and they
Yeah, we know.
highlighted the
You know.
square, and and it was covered on Big Brother 1. So that was
That's
pretty
funny.
cool.
Well, Brody, I will keep in touch with you because I'd like if you can send anybody our way. And during the season, while you're watching, if you want to drop in, let me know.
Oh,
We'd
that'd
love
be
to have
great.
you.
And I will send you a copy, a signed copy. So I'll do that this week. For being my first interview, this is a big moment for me. So thank you guys.
Well, we're
Thank
glad
you.
to have you. I was hoping we'd get some calls and stuff, but it's like rolling the dice. You don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you'll get a call and you'd be like, why?
Well, I was scared. I've had some trolls on Twitter since the book has come out, so it might be a good thing that you didn't get any calls. I was a little nervous for that.
If anything, it's probably from our regulars, and
we have fun with it. Sometimes it's not FM quality, but
And guys, before I let you go, could I take a picture just on my screen really quickly with you guys?
yeah,
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, one ugly
There we
guy
go.
and two beautiful ladies there.
Awesome. Well, thank you all.
All right,
thank
Brody.
you.
Brody.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon, and I'll get in touch with you with the other info. So
Awesome.
thanks a lot. I appreciate it. That was
Thank
great.
you, Brody.
All right, have a nice night. That was great.
He was adorable.
That was great.
Fantastic.
You know, well, see, this is the thing. When you interview, especially people from Hollywood, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, he's in Canada, obviously, but
He's just a normal dude that loves him some Big Brother.
last season, I did manage to get Steve. I think he was on Big Brother 13 to come on the show. And he came on the Paranormal Guys. He didn't come on the Big Brother show. He came on the Paranormal Guys. And he is now a professor that teaches lawyers and police officers. And
Wow.
he's kind of a big deal. He's a whatever, tenured professor. And he broke into Bigfoot stuff, and we were just like, what?
That's great.
I went for it. I wanted the Big Brother stuff, and then he jumped into the paranormal with both feet, and I was like, wow. So we had a great interview with him. So if you get a chance, you can go back and look at that one. But while I got y'all here, go ahead.
You know what they have such a good opportunity to do if they're doing AI this season?
What's that?
Like mix in some 1984 stuff in there.
Well, it's funny you say that because I don't know if you've seen the whole house that was released. I got some pictures here. Of course, these are from
I want to see a big picture on the wall as they come in.
Well,
flat out says Big Brother is watching.
Well, there are some okay, how do I go next picture? All right, so they do themes each year, and this, I don't know really what the idea theme of this bedroom is.
That looks terribly uncomfortable.
How do you get
this
in bed? Like,
I'm assuming this ladder gets you in these two beds.
You gotta crawl over each other to.
You can get acquainted. That's for sure. I'm not sure.
Oh, excuse me, Stacy. I gotta roll over you here.
You see, me being the heavyset guy, I'd probably take the very top bed. So.
I like the lights underneath though. That's
well, they have a lot of cool things. This is backyard by the pool. Like you said, they like to originally with Big Brother, they didn't want to put in the backyard because over in the Netherlands they didn't, and they were like, well, this is California, people want to be outside. And so they talked them into it, and they let them have a pool. So this is outside, poolside.
Well, and I've got to agree with them of like, you want it to be a backyard, not a big place to.
Well,
I feel like
it's your summer vacation.
The only thing that ruins it for me is like maybe for the background there they put like palm trees and stuff. Like, no, are we swimming in a pool in the middle of a meadow?
Yeah, well, some of these things you see they'll get all right. So this is
oh gosh,
I'm calling dibs on that one.
Unicorn room.
I want the one nearest the unicorn.
This one kind of freaks me out a little bit, but it might be liked by some.
I don't like that they don't have headboards.
way too much pink.
Well, but those are pretty big beds, though. I mean,
They look kind of small to me.
Yeah.
you think so? Maybe. I don't know. So,
Does it lower down and it can feel like a coffin? Then maybe we'll talk. But
well, the chess set. The only game they're allowed in Big Brother is chess. I would suck because I don't know how to play chess. So
I would just turn it into checkers.
Well, it's funny. A lot of times during the season, one player that knows it teaches the others, and they get quite competitive. And this is the head of household bedroom, and the head of house is, well, crap, I went the wrong way. Every week they have a contest. Every week they have a contest to see who's going to be the head of house, and they get that room. They get a goodie basket, a letter from home with a picture. And that's their room.
I don't know who's screwing in that bed. Can I just keep my regular bed?
That's been an issue in some seasons. In fact, I believe it was last season. And the other perk is they get their own private bathroom. So,
nice.
But the head of household, it's a nice room, but a lot of times, some seasons, a lot of guests end up sleeping together in it. Not necessarily sexually, but just jumping in there. And
it's giving nautical meets old school diner.
Yeah, I don't know what this year is unique.
I like that.
This is just a wall between the rooms that they've never had anything that I've known them. So I was kind of like, what? This threw me off a little bit, but
you can just sit there and crap talk with somebody about the person in the other room.
Now this is the room in the middle of the hallway where people usually go and they want to have their private talk. Every year it's got a different theme. This year, I think that's really cool. And they've brought the fish tank back. They took away the fish tank for many years.
Can I just go in there and sleep?
You can.
Right.
You can, but you can't sleep until, what is it? Midnight California time, I believe. They won't let the contestants sleep.
That's past my bedtime.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? This may be upstairs and they've enclosed it. It's hard to tell.
It's the hand.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on over there?
See, here's the thing. Everything in Big Brother has a meaning. And so during the season, that will have some meaning. Or they do weird things like in the middle of a contest, they'll stop you and go, in one of the rooms, there's a figure with a silver hand. How many fingers does it have?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
it's got 5. Whoever needs to know, it's got 5.
The bathroom, which is bright, very bright.
Oh, that's nice.
Bathroom.
Yeah,
it's so weird. It's giving like modern submarine.
Yeah, I don't know. And the showers are a little more secluded this time, it looks like, because used to this wall was not as big, and when you were in the shower, it was clear. So when you were in the shower, you were
don't get
sharing
to see
it
no
with,
booty cheeks.
So, trust me, during the season, you see a lot of things. This is another one of the bedrooms.
Interesting.
Quite confusing, but yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, wait till you see
like a children's room.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so every week, 2 people get nominated to be have-nots, and then I think 2 others, if they lose competitions, become have-nots. And when you're a have-not, you have to sleep in the have-not room, and this is the beds this year. And this is kind. In the past, they've been dentist chairs, they've been beds of nails.
A dentist chair would be better than that.
Well, it was funny. The year they made the dentist chair, there was actually a dentist on the show.
maybe the lids open up and you can go into it.
Well, that's the thing. There might be, and that person just jumped out.
Yeah, there's someone in there.
She looks like a nurse.
Until
I was looking at that.
Suddenly jumped out at me. I just caught it. I hadn't seen it before. Like, whoa!
Samara coming out of the TV. Good guy. Put her
right?
back in. Put her back in.
I have no idea. She's got to be a cast member, or not member, but a.
It looks like she's wearing like a nightgown or a night shirt.
Yeah. Maybe
Well,
she
they do
tested the
test
bed.
everything. They do test everything. I read in his book, and I've heard from others.
Stephanie, go in there and check out the not bed beds.
Well, see, I'm going to guarantee this room probably glows in the dark, and they never turn the lights off completely in this room. And then you're on a hard bed. Yeah. This room. I'm interested to see what they do. Yeah, I like the chair. I'm interested to see what they do. Last year, you had to go into it, and I forget what it was. It was like a little miniature gym, and there was like gym, what are they called? Benches was all they had in the bedroom. And in order to get out, you had to punch the punching bag. So you had to spin a wheel, and it would tell you a number. If it said come up at 20, you had to punch the punching bag 20 times before they would unlock the door and let you out.
I can do that.
Well, if you have to do it 3 times a day or something. This is a quaint room.
Nice.
These are the 2 chairs you never want to be in. These are where the nominees sit every week. And usually one of them gets evicted, and it's usually this side. So don't take that side. And
that room is gorgeous, though.
This is the center room, which is funny. It's used the least of all the rooms, except for the meetings.
I love the table. I love
that table is nice.
And that marble-y wall is gorgeous.
One year it was this wall over here was an actual rock climbing wall, and people were climbing it. So we see that different view of the room. You go out
at the door. Yeah.
This door is where you go to the diary room, and I think this door leads out to the studio where the fans are when you've been evicted. So yeah, it's nice.
I like all the shrubbery from the ceiling too. That's very nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, more of the outdoors there, out back. The hammock always plays a big part. People sleep in the hammock.
I like their silver beach balls.
Yeah, they have good balls. I like it. I don't know what production thought this was important to release this picture.
Go
I'm
back
not
one
really
a
sure
second.
what this is. Yeah.
What is going on in the background over there? Is it supposed to look like an amusement park? It almost looks like an amusement park.
Or a futuristic city.
Futuristic, yeah.
Kind of like would the Jetsons, what we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Right.
Dang it, I wish they would stick with one theme. They're killing me.
They jump around a lot. But this, for some reason, production they released a photo of it.
It's nice glass.
Maybe they'll play a role in the show.
Oh,
How
it's
many
going
glass
to.
doohickeys were sitting on the table in the bathroom?
It's going to play some role. I mean, well, it may be plastic, and you have to unwind it,
rubber tubing.
Yeah, it's going to have some meaning. Everything does.
We're back in the diner.
Yeah. This is the back side of the kitchen, I believe.
Because where that window is off to the right, because there were 2 there, they look like windows that people would come be serving you your food out of.
Right.
That's a weird lamp.
I don't think that's a lamp. I think those are one of those is a vase. That's a vase.
A vase.
Yeah. A vase. And then a glass doohickey. I do really like that bowl on the table and that table.
I do too. That's neat. I need that
your
bowl.
fruit and your snacks.
I have tried for years to find the set, because at the end of the season they tear stuff down. They give the players first option on things, and then they auction it off. I've tried for years to get something from there. The mirror in the head of household.
Oh, I thought that was the doorway. I was like, that's a fabulous doorway.
No, well, now you know what? It may be a doorway because this looks like a sink. This may be the doorway to the private bathroom. There's no door on the private bathroom. So I bet you're correct. I bet you that's the entranceway, and that's the That's
And
probably the bathtub, because I believe there's a bathtub in the master bedroom.
I like the walls.
You can
in
see
there
the
too.
towels over to the right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're observing. I didn't see that. This is why I got y'all, because I don't know what I'm doing. Back to Hell Room.
Oh,
And
gosh.
And Pinhead's going to come out of the middle of that floor.
And
Right.
I see. So this has got some connection to the other things they sent us a picture of, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it would spin around or something.
It's probably hit somebody in the head before the end of it.
Pretty cool. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Or it looks like it's giving me Hellraiser meets Matrix meets we're in the dark playing laser tag.
Well, can you imagine that you don't get alcohol in there very often? But when you do get alcohol,
I'll be running
imagine
high.
stumbling into that room.
I'll be running high on delusion by that point.
Oh, gosh. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not moving, but I feel like I'm moving.
Yeah, especially if they have, because they may have, these may be the LED lights. You never know. They do such weird things during the show.
Those like mirrors look into each other like those. So those are those ones that'll trip you out.
Yep. You're exactly right. A different view. This must be the master bed upstairs. So yeah, they got their own little sink.
Those are cute. I bet those are a pain to clean though.
Why is there not a what do you call it here? Spout. Yeah.
Maybe they just haven't put that one in yet.
Oh.
Only one outlet? Come on, man.
And I did notice they've got the well, that was in another picture, but they have the what do you call it?
Those
the
are
fans that don't have. No, there's one on each side of the bed that are fans. It's the ones that don't have blades. That may be a lamp. Yeah, it's the kitchen.
Ooh.
I didn't count the number of, I guess this year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
16.
Yeah, 16.
So see, here we go. They've already started playing games. They've said there's 13 contestants.
Here's your plate of shrubbery from the garden we've picked for you.
That's some
Here's
kind
your bowl of moss.
It's like fungus. Yeah.
It's
California
nutritious.
herbs.
I love those chairs and I love the light fixtures over there. So odd looking.
Yeah.
Like
and
silver mushroom caps.
Okay, so you still can look down on them. Yeah, okay. I was making sure that wasn't the other room. Nice little kitchen. Is that this?
They got an air fryer. Yeah, it is.
That's a weird one.
It's probably one of those fancy ones that you can turn different ways.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
it does different things.
I'm surprised that can't be glass.
Ooh, I love that big bottle up there.
Yeah,
on the top
and I
left.
look at the giant cherry, and then the lovely bowls right there beside of it. Those are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those bowls on the second shelf match the wall in the other room.
See, this is why I have y'all. Y'all are observing. I don't notice these little details.
That looks like a giant shell with the apples in it.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Coffee pot. Wonder what this. I guess that's just where you set your cleaning utensils.
You can flip your glass upside down and stick it down, and it'll spray it and wash it up in the glass.
Wow.
It could be one of those, yeah.
That's high tech. It's high tech. I wouldn't have guessed that. I did not know that. So, in past seasons, they've had fires in the kitchen, so there's always a fire extinguisher nearby.
Oh, come on, zoom in. I'm seeing more
right,
marble.
Which way you want me to go here?
And I love the brass measuring cups and teaspoons and
oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all their seasonings already.
Very cool.
Electric glass top stove. It's not gas.
That's better than better than gas.
Yeah, well,
And I love that yellow and white like bar that goes
The
through
bar.
there.
Yeah.
What is the wall? That wall looks weird.
It's like
Go
weight.
back. Yeah. But what's it made out of? It looks like it's almost like rock.
I was gonna say some kind of stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Huh.
I wonder
Interesting.
if that's the type of stone that like when you go to it has shells in it.
Oh,
Because
maybe.
my grandparents' house on the outside in Florida was like that. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what it looks like. It was in that same pattern like that.
That with the stair rail gives it that industrial type look
Mm-hmm.
and those
Yeah.
cabinets. That's neat.
Almost like
I'm just
you're in
like,
a
what
stairway in
TJ
New York Garden Steps.
like what TJ
Mhm.
Maxx or what Hobby Lobby are they going to get all their stuff? Because I need to figure out.
IKEA.
You were asking about you wanted to see the pictures when you come in. These are what's called the memory wall, and the entire season, the guest picture for their profile photo they use as for everything on the show is there, and it's in color. When you get evicted, everybody goes running over from the door, which is there to the left of it, to watch the memory wall. Your picture goes black and white.
No, I want a big movie-sized theatrical poster framed up on the wall that Big Brother is watching.
There you go. They've added in the past couple seasons an upper deck to the outside.
Very nice.
Some seasons they don't really take advantage of it, but I would think, to me, that would be the place to be. So,
Now I'm gonna go stand over on the wraparound stairs and be Rapunzel.
they have a pool table again this year. That's good to see.
They had some weights on the other side.
Yeah, it looks like they got this might be a pull-up bar or something there. So yeah, they might have a little mini gym right here.
I think that's the bar
Chuck
for you to
Norris
put the weights on either side.
Could be. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. So you don't, in case you don't have somebody spotting you. Another room, another view of the kitchen. And you could the stairs going up to the back, upstairs, and then the doorway leading to the backyard. And if they don't want you in the backyard, they roll down a metal garage door and it's locked and you have no access. You're locked in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they go days without being outside because, like he was saying, they transform that whole backyard into a TV set.
Wow.
What's just really confusing to me in looking through all of these is, okay, so this all matches like the main master bedroom, and I get like the one room, the Matrix Hellraiser room, I get that. But the whole house has this, it's like futuristic nautical, I'm just going to call it a modern submarine. Has the modern submarine vibes, except for the unicorn room and the bedroom that, or the common area that looks like, or the pool where they're in the middle of the meadow.
Yeah.
It's got a great vibe, but their random choosings for some things is sending my OCD off the wall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's all the pictures. So well, there's probably more on Twitter. I just didn't grab them all, but
yeah, I didn't really get it. I didn't really give a good look on those.
They do a video. Yeah, they do a video walkthrough of it too. It's kind of cheesy. It's just a minute long video.
Yeah, those ones were of the unicorn room and the weird sideways bed looking things.
I wish it, and I'll have to look on Reddit, and it's probably not been done yet, but somebody will draw out a floor plan. Let me see. How do I share this? Let me share this.
Oh, you showed us last year's, yes.
Yeah. Share screen.
I was under the Big Brother Reddit, so I might just have to go look again.
Yeah, that's a good place to go to keep getting intel for us for the show. But yeah, somebody usually every year does the floor plan.
Somebody put, this might be the ugliest house of all time. We might be in for a good season.
It's true. It's true.
Somebody said, I'd be so overstimulated, it's wild. I would just get mad.
Maybe that's the plan.
Yeah, and this I hope somebody does it for this season. I edited it out. I figured out which I put the compass up here and reposted it for them. And they were like, "Why'd you put the compass on there?" And I'm like, "Well, when you're outside, that tells you where you're at."
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I hope somebody does it. It doesn't look like they've changed the layout too much.
This is funny. When the have not room is prettier than 2 out of the 3 normal rooms.
Right.
Yeah, the have not room is the little one upstairs, and usually it's like I said, it's they make it a paint. Like one year you had to crawl through a door to get to it. One year it was like completely air conditioned down to like 50, like you were in a freezer. So yeah, it's and right next door is the person living luxury with their own bathroom, their own bedroom. They can close the door. So
I would just be best friends with everyone, so whoever is in that room, I could go stay with them.
We'll see and we'll have to do a show when they do the cast reveal.
Can I come nap on your couch?
I think the cast reveal will be coming in the next probably 72 hours, so we'll have to do a show on the cast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Reddit, Shay, you will have me covered on that. Reddit and Twitter absolutely tear into Big Brother.
Somebody said the unicorn room, it's giving newborn.
Yeah.
But I thought this was funny. Somebody said the AI rooms being somewhat intentionally ugly is honestly a master stroke.
It is very ugly. So I'm excited for the season. I really am. And so I don't know why I love the show so much, but I'm like a super fan. I enjoy all aspects of it. So
I'm looking forward to watching it.
So somebody specified here that first room we were looking at that has the where they're the beds almost look like they're tilted.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to be upside down.
Okay.
Down.
So the best bedroom has to be that upside down one where the sky is the floor. Because if you look at it, it looks like there's the floor looks like it's clouds.
Yeah. And then those are like boulders or something.
Ooh, yeah. And I'm going to bet that probably never turns off. Mm-hmm. There's always light there of some sort. You're right. Yeah, look, the mountains are
the mountain upside down. Yeah.
Yeah. The planet, yeah. Good catch.
Looks like grass growing from the ceiling.
Well, you can thank Reddit for that.
Well, they'll be helpful throughout the season, so
Anybody want to take bets on how long before they drop the AI theme? Somebody said 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh gosh.
It's fluid, so I'm excited. Well, ladies, I don't want to keep you. We've talked a lot. Next week we have a special show as well. One of the other podcasters has agreed to come on and chat with us, and I'm trying to pull up her name real quick because I don't remember it off the top of my head. She is, of course, it's not in there. Okay. Sarah Talks Big Brother. Oh, good Lord. So hopefully she's watching tonight, but she's coming on with us next week, and we're going to talk to her. It's a weird dynamic with podcasters for Big Brother because you either love them or hate them, and they don't usually communicate. So when she agreed to actually come on, I was like, You sure? I'm excited to have her. There is a podcast that goes throughout the year, and I will give him props. Taryn Armstrong, he does a show on it pretty much 24/7. He's either doing this or he's on Twitch with his cameras in his house watching the show. So I don't know how he does it, but he's never been on the show. So, but he's the most knowledgeable person about Big Brother, and he usually gets all the best scoop.
He doesn't have time to be on the show.
Well, I think he's probably too smart to be on the show because he's watched it, he's taken it in, and like I said, he has to have somebody giving him. Overnight there was an argument between Betty and Bob, and the verbatim word for word. There has to be somebody. I haven't figured out his secret yet. There's a secret, so
he's friends with someone.
Oh yeah, well, during the season, we all somehow become acquainted with CBS. Last year, they assigned a production assistant to watch it. I think it was our only viewer. So,
gosh,
that's not true. We had 2 viewers. My stalker. Cheyenne, are you going to be anywhere anytime soon, or?
Today's Tuesday. I'll be here. Bracket Bastards on Sunday.
Yeah, the paranormal guys. We got Sin. She's Sin or Cyan. She's talking ghosts, and Glenda's back again. So thank you to Cheyenne for that. So it'll be a great 2 hours. I gotta put that show together, by the way. I'm on the Thin Line Rock Station. You can catch me there Tuesday and Thursdays, noon to 2. Almost said 1400.
Friday.
And then Friday, I am back to doing Friday flashbacks. So send me a request. Speakpipe.com/Sportcat. All right, everybody, have a great night. We will talk to you soon. And thank you to Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, and Parapost Network.